So I liked almost all of it. What's hilarious is the one that you said I hated. I thought the werewolf guy looked awful. Welcome to the Weekly Fix podcast, where we're just two friends talking about our passions within movies, TV shows, gaming, and comics. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We hope you like it. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Weekly Fix. My name is Jacob, and joining me, as always, is Zayne. And we have a pretty exciting episode this week because we had a lot of content come out this past week to talk about. Now, I did not get into all of it. Some of that was laziness. Some of it is just simply not really wanting to. But I know Zayne did go ahead and catch up on everything, so we'll have a lot to talk about. And I'm super excited to talk about one thing in particular, which is Skeleton Crew, because I think all the hype that it had been getting the last few days is very well deserved because I thoroughly enjoyed myself watching those first two episodes. But before we get into any of that, Zayne, I know you're a little bit under the weather, but besides that, how are you doing?
Oh man. Other than that, I'm doing pretty good. We took a trip to Disney last week, which is probably why 3 out of the 4 of us have the flu. Um, but other than that, we're doing pretty good. Disney was fun. Had a good time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. However, that is the reason that Comic Corner did not drop last week, is because I forgot to upload it. So that'll be coming out this Friday. My bad on that, guys. If you're looking forward to that, I dropped the ball. That's on me. So, but yeah, Disney was fun. Good day yesterday at church. And then we all kind of got smacked with the flu bug last night. So kind of recovering through that. But other than that, we're doing pretty good. What about you?
I think one of those things about Disney is like it is so exciting and like so fun to go do, but there's just so many people, so like the potential for something like that is so high. But I think that's usually a willing trade-off because it is such an awesome, exciting adventure. I've been to Disney once. I absolutely love it. Like I'm so excited to go back at some point, especially now that we live in Jacksonville a little bit closer. It's a lot more feasible, to go pick one day out of the week and say, hey, let's just go to this one park. So yeah, I'm super happy you guys had a great time, especially for me, just because I love it so much. So when other people have the opportunity to go and enjoy it as much as I do, I think that's awesome. But I didn't do a whole lot this week. I was a little bit lazy, like I said. I did get to watch Skeleton Crew, which was awesome. I can't wait to start talking about that. But I think my biggest thing of the week was Marvel Rivals, the brand new Team Hero shooter dropped by NetEase Gaming, and it is an absolute blast. Like, usually I'm not a big team shooter fan. Like, I like the Call of Duty style a little bit more, quicker time to kill. You can carry a team if you're good enough to victory. This is not like that because you can't really 1v6 by yourself games because it's a team effort. It says it right in the name, a Team Hero shooter. So it's super fun. I think they did such an awesome job with the characters. And a dilemma I'm running into with it already is making me want to learn more about more Marvel characters. Like, I've been playing Iron Fist, and man, he is so fun to play as, but I've never really read many Iron Fist comics or anything like that. So it's got me really clamoring to kind of get into that a little bit more, to read some more about Iron Fist, stuff like that. So that's been a super time. And anytime a new video game drops and it's actually good, and when it has the Marvel IP attached to it, which us nerds can all get excited about, I think it makes it that much better. But no, great week for me as well. Like I said, I was a little bit lazier. My brother got his wisdom teeth removed today, actually, which has been fun, getting some videos and stuff like that from my sister, which if you guys have any experience with wisdom teeth removal, sometimes it can be very, very funny. And some of the clips I've gotten have had me crying, laughing. So all in all, a great week, and I can't complain.
Dude, that's awesome. Yeah, no, that's a lot of fun. I've been watching some YouTube videos on Marvel Rivals. I'm probably going to download it pretty soon and give it a go. It definitely looks like a blast. That Marvel IP, they seem to have went all in on. It looks really good. So I'm glad that you're enjoying it. And so many people are singing its praises. Now that may be honeymoon, or it may be legitimate, but I'm leaning towards legitimate for most of the stuff that I've seen. So that's exciting.
Well, especially because you can kind of be a little more comfortable saying it's legitimate because people love to hate on Marvel stuff. Like, if you attach that Marvel IP, it gives people a reason to hate. And I feel like there's not been a whole lot of hate. Now, I definitely think there is some honeymoon going on with it. I mean, it's a new video game. Everyone's super excited about it. But there also was a video game like Overwatch 2 that people also really did like, but they've gotten fed up with it. So I think the fact that it is basically Overwatch with a Marvel skin and people are loving it as much as they are, I think that speaks a lot of volumes to the game itself. If people are like, they still have a game out there that they could be playing, but they're enjoying this one just that much more. I think the characters are really fun. Like you said, you've got to see some of the videos, and I'm sure there's been a few characters that you're like, oh, that looks super fun to play as, or I just like Spider-Man, so I'm going to try to play Spider-Man. So I think that's got a lot of fun going for it. Like I said, I'm thoroughly enjoying it, and I'm not usually a Team Hero shooter, but another benefit of the game is it is free, so it's free to check it out. You don't have to spend any money. You don't have to worry about regretting your purchase. And then if you do really enjoy it, a lot of the stuff in game is actually super cheap. Like the battle pass is only $5. And when have we ever, I mean, how often do we get a $5 battle pass? So I think that's super cool. And the other super cool thing about the battle pass is you don't have like a time frame to finish it. Like you literally, once you purchase it, it stays open until you've unlocked everything. So I think that is another super neat thing. It seems like they're really caring a lot for the consumer here, which we don't usually see in video games. So I think that's super cool.
Yeah, that's nice that they're not just pushing you to play as many hours as humanly possible. That's a
Yes.
big plus in my opinion.
Yeah, so that's super cool. So if you guys are one of those people that are like, oh, I want to get into the game, but I feel like I'm going to fall behind, sure, it can be a little bit of a skill gap and stuff, and sometimes takes a little longer to warm up. But you don't have to worry about like, oh, I bought this battle pass, I have to play. You know, it's there for you to work on when you have time to do so. So I think that's super cool. But let's get into some of the topics of the show, and I think the first one we're going to be talking about, I think, is probably both of our most exciting things, and that is Invincible season 3 trailer dropped, and boy oh boy did it definitely not disappoint. Like this trailer had got me so excited. It looks so good. Zane, what were your first thoughts when you watched the trailer come out?
Oh, I was just so impressed. I was actually surprised we didn't get more multiverse. I know we did get, I think, one snippet of maybe a potential alternate universe Mark, but a lot of tension between Mark and Cecil, which is
Mhm.
super interesting because I know that dynamic has been in tension since the beginning. And he really kind of wanted to favor him more because his dad didn't, and he didn't want to be like his dad. So I'm glad that he's now being his own man and seeing that Cecil is definitely not the best. So that's going to be a fantastic time to watch. So many things in this trailer getting me hype, and I know they're holding back a lot. So excited for this.
Yeah, I think it was super cool that you're kind of seeing him become his own man, like you just said. Like he's starting to find out that he was getting taken advantage of and being used by Cecil. So there's so many things that I think are going to come to a head here. I do think the multiversal stuff is going to be like on pause for a little while. I feel like they're really going
Okay.
to tell the story right now about Mark becoming his own person, but also about, the pending danger that is coming with, the Viltrumites, and, Mark's already had a few experiences with a couple of them. So I think that's kind of the story they're going to go for. We did get to see Alan talking to Omni-Man, which was super cool. I'm super excited to see that 1-2 punch combo come to life. Because I have a feeling, hopefully I'm not wrong on this. I really hope we get to see them bust out of the Viltrumite jail together, just killing some Viltrumites together. I think that would be such a cool interaction because they're such different characters. Alan's like that funny comedic relief kind of guy, but if you got Omni-Man who is super serious, never laughs, I would just love to see that interaction in like a fight scene. I think they would really like bounce well off of each other. So I hope we do get that. I know the comic fans out there that have read it are probably like screaming at their screen, but it's super exciting that we still have the opportunity to theorize of it because we haven't had a chance to read through all the comics.
Yeah, and they may not just be sticking straight to the comics. They clearly already have made some divergence.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's good or whether that's bad, some would say bad because of Amber, some would say good because of some other stuff potentially. But it is super fun to still kind of think about where they're going to stray, what they're going to stay close to, and because, like you said, we hadn't read it, it's all fun for us because it's a
Yes.
complete unknown.
Yeah, it's so good. Now, one thing we had talked about previously when they had that like teaser trailer dropped was that we felt like the animation maybe had gotten upped a little bit. Like we thought maybe they were running it at a higher FPS, some different things like that. Now, for me personally, I felt this trailer was kind of back to what it originally looked like. Do you think that maybe that teaser they just upped the frames on for a little while just to make it a little bit smoother? Or do you think that maybe once we actually do get the show, it'll be back in that animation style that we saw like with the teaser? Because I feel like this one was a little bit back to like just normal Invincible looking.
I thought it looked really good and potentially less stuttery, maybe not more frames, but
Hmm.
maybe more motion throughout.
Okay.
So I definitely think it looked really good. But I agree, I don't think it looked quite as polished as the teaser did, but that could also be I only watched it one time,
Yeah.
so that also could be that.
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't look good because I just love the animation style of Invincible. One of the things I actually recently picked up was the hard book of the art of season one of Invincible, and that's actually one of the things they made an emphasis on is when Robert Kirkman picked, I forget his name right now, to do the art. He said he really appreciated the simplistic design that he was able to do with the art, but still make it look fun and exciting. And I think that's one of the things the show does really well. I mean, there's a lot of basic colors. There's a lot of, we don't see like a lot of like high HD definition looking animations like we do see in some animes and some like higher quality level. I won't say higher quality level because it's definitely a design choice, but like stuff like the Clone Wars, those things are very fluid. They look a lot more detailed and stuff. I really appreciate how well they do with keeping it simple, but still making it really appealing to the eyes. And I think that this trailer definitely showed that because it just looks so good.
Yeah, I would echo that. It definitely doesn't have the bright flashes like Storm's lightning from X-Men 97, but I
Mhm.
don't think it needs it. I think they do a really good job with what they're trying to execute.
So, with this being the first trailer that we're gotten, I'm sure we're going to get more. Did this deliver for you on a first trailer basis, or do you wish maybe they would give us a little more? Do you wish they would have cut a little bit more out of it? Because it was a pretty long trailer as like for a first trailer drop.
Yeah, no, I think it was good. I don't think maybe cut a little bit more out, but also I don't know how much they're hiding. So they may have cut, you know, just enough out. I thought it was cool to kind of give us a look at Oliver, Omni Boy, and
Yes.
kind of see him that he will be in action, definitely fighting the Mauler twins. Glad to have them back. That's going to be cool. So I don't necessarily think they spoiled anything except for teased what we're headed towards.
Yeah, I think they did a really good job, and I think that's credit to Robert Kirkman. He obviously knows what he wants to do with this, and I think he said that he wants to get 7 seasons out of the show, but he also did come out recently and say, well, I'm always open to if I feel like it's needed to do 8, 9, 10 seasons. So I
Yeah.
really do trust him with what he wants to do here. So I think this was a really great trailer. You touched on the Omniboy thing. I thought that was awesome. I'm super excited to see that character development between him and Mark. I thought my favorite part of the trailer, though, was Cecil like kind of narrating while Mark was having like his workout training, and we keep hearing him. He's gained like 80% speed, la di da di da, and then he's like, "And your strength has increased like 100 and some percent." I thought that was super super cool because we know kind of what level of invincible we're finally gonna get here.
Yeah, no, definitely something that can bench press over like 40,000 tons. Like he's gonna be a brute that 136% on top of where he started. That's pretty awesome. Which is
Yeah.
is also really cool comparison to where we saw the teaser trailer at, where he wasn't training at all. So I'm
Yep.
glad that we kind of got that and being like, hey, we're picking up probably right after where that teaser trailer left off with him starting this training, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited. We've been waiting to see like that invincible moment. Like I want to see him be like one of the strongest characters in the show because every fight he's been in, he kind of just gets beat up and pushed around. And the Ancient Levy fight was like the first time we saw him really just like take over, take control of a fight. And hopefully that's something that can continue to bleed into the rest of the show. We obviously know it's getting there at some point, but just seeing a little bit of it, like it seems like he's finally getting to that point that he's going to be able to hold his own against some actual strong opponents. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, what did you think about is it Beastmaster, the lion that really
Oh,
wrecked him in season 1? A little
yes.
flash of him?
Oh, dude, I'm super pumped about that because I thought the character design for him was really, really cool. And I was so disappointed that we haven't got to see him since season one because I think that was actually one of my favorite moments in season one was kind of seeing that fight go down the way it did. I'm super pumped to see that because we know they're heading towards a rematch. And I think he's probably obviously he's fought some super strong Viltrumites, but he's probably a top 5 person that he's fought strength wise. So I think that'll be a really, really good gauge for us that are watching the show to get an idea of where Mark is at, is he if he's able to defeat him in a fight.
Yeah, which I definitely think after this training he probably will be able to because he didn't just get wiped with the floor. Now he did lose pretty handily, but it wasn't like he was fighting a child. So definitely going to be exciting to see where his stance is after this.
Yeah, for sure. But I think this is just so exciting. We finally got that Invincible trailer. I mean, we've been waiting for it for so long, it feels like. I do think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we both do know the answer to this question. I think they said there wasn't going to be a midseason break, which I'm super pumped about.
Correct. Yeah, could not be happier.
Yeah, I feel like that actually hurt them way more than I expected it to last year. Obviously, for us, it didn't. We were still super excited for it. We would have preferred it. But I do know a lot of people that were like, oh, I didn't even know the second half of the season came out. Like, they had just kind of forgotten about the show. So hopefully, this gets people back excited about it. Hopefully, it doesn't lose their interest, halfway through the season. But no, I think this was a fantastic first trailer. It's got me super excited. We both know how much we both love this. I mean, it's probably, if I would say, like, something that we both agree on, like as equal levels of excitement, because you usually like Marvel more, I usually like Star Wars more. I think this is one that we both get equally as excited for something. So that's always really fun.
Oh yeah, I would have to agree with that.
So that's Invincible season 3 trailer. Do you have anything else you wanted to touch on, Zane, before we moved on from that?
No, I just wanted to see. Did you see the Reacher season 3 trailer?
Oh, I did not know a Reacher season 3 trailer dropped.
Yeah, it dropped today. We got a Reacher teaser trailer for season 3 and a release date, which
Oh,
is
cool.
February 20th of next year.
All right. So that's another exciting thing because I love that show. And I also think it's renewed for another season after this one, correct?
It is, yeah. Season 4 is already greenlit. So we will get weekly releases of that and Invincible pretty much going on at the same time.
Which is kind of funny too, because if you think about it, Reacher's like almost that like Invincible live action, like the way he handles stuff and like just goes in, takes punches, and like throws people around. So that's gonna be really fun to be watching like in the same week.
Yeah, no, it's definitely going to be fun in comparison between the two because I know that kind of became one of your favorite um
Yes.
shows last year, which was awesome. So the fact that we're getting those pretty much 2 weeks apart was good. But what I'm seeing here is we get a 3 episode drop for Invincible.
Yeah, which, dude, like, could it be any better than that? Like, I want all of, like, this is one of those shows, and I know we've talked about like we like the weekly drop release because it gives us time to catch up. We're able to avoid spoilers more, but this is one of those shows that I'm like, I almost kind of wish we got it all at once so I could just like binge it in a weekend or something because it's just so good. But now I know it's going to be more exciting to have to wait every week and for us to be able to theorize about it. But having a 3 episode opening has me really excited.
Yeah, kind of like that movie to start us going, see
Yeah.
where we're headed for the season. That's awesome. So yeah, very exciting. 2 weeks, 2 weeks apart. So that's fun that we get to see. You'll have to watch that teaser trailer for Reacher, and we'll talk about it next week.
Yeah, that'll be awesome. So another content drop that I didn't even know about. Like I said, I think this was a pretty busy week that was kind of out of the blue. I didn't really expect this one to be as busy as it was. So that's always super fun. But let's keep it in the animated world. Now this is something I've not got a chance to watch, and I actually haven't read too many reviews or heard many people talking about it. But that's Creature Commandos, and I believe you did get the opportunity to sit down and watch this. Did it also have a 2 episode release, or is it just one
It
starting
did,
out?
yep. 2 episode release for this one, which were both full length episodes. And they were pretty good. Now, I will have to warn you, this is a TVMA cartoon. It has some sexualization in it that's definitely over the top, not needed. It is a cartoon, however. There was some language, but nothing to the level of Peacemaker, which I was super happy about. It felt like I could actually watch it and not be just berated by garbage in my ears the entire time. So it does have language, does have some sexual content in it, but overall, very good start for James Gunn. I thought the pacing was really good. I thought, the story is pretty fun. It definitely canonized everything from Suicide Squad, completely everything. So kickoff to his, we had that question: is the Suicide Squad going to be canon? And it for sure is because Rick Flag Sr. talks about his son's death during Project Starfish, which is exactly what happened in Suicide Squad. So kind of exciting that it did that and they didn't like leave us hanging for that. But yeah, a lot of cool storylines, some unique characters, definitely going to be some thrills throughout the season. It's not a must watch. It's fun. I don't think it's a must watch yet. Definitely we'll see where the season goes and how much they continue with the TVMA content. Whether this is another one that I have to end up dropping, or whether we can kind of suffer through it with a few fast forwardings, we'll see. But so far, pretty entertaining, I would say.
Well, I will say that's probably been the biggest question for me, and maybe every fan that's excited for this James Gunn universe is what is going to be canon? Like, where is he starting off? So I think that we're finally starting to get some more of those answers. We've heard him say that some stuff was going to be canon. So I'm super excited. Like we've heard that Peacemaker stuff was going to be canon. Now Suicide Squad is apparently going to be canon. So I think that's super cool that we're finally starting to get a basis for where the show is going to be built off of, or his universe is going to be built off of. And that's been my biggest question, really, is like, where's it starting? Are we completely starting fresh? And after he came out and said, some of Peacemaker will be, and now it sounds like Suicide Squad is completely. I think it's cool that we finally have an idea of where to start with this one. Now, one question I wanted to ask you, because we have a lot of fans, and some people don't want to watch some of the stuff that's more mature. Would you put this on the level of Invincible mature rating, or would it be a little bit more than that, maybe a little bit less than that?
I would definitely put it higher than that, just strictly because of the sexual content. We have some things with Amber and Mark in it. Invincible that is definitely leading, definitely sexual content as far as like dialogue and things, but it's never shown. This does have crossed the line a few times, so I definitely would say this is much higher on that, especially violence and gore. I would say the violence and gore is all close with the potential to go higher than Invincible currently, what I'm feeling. So we'll see. Definitely currently, I would say it's significantly higher.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good baseline for those people that, have watched Invincible and they do enjoy it, but they don't know if they would want much more than that. So I'm glad you're able to answer that question. Some of the things that you said, you even said before the show that you think this is one that I would like. What would you like say about like the action or the storytelling? Do you think they have a good story to be told? I know you said it's skippable, but so far, based off what you've gotten through, do you think it's worth the watch?
So far what I've gotten through is definitely worth the watch. They're taking their times, they're telling backstories, they're especially the bride. The bride has a very good, clean, emotional backstory with Frankenstein, which I think is super cool. And I also didn't know that Frankenstein was voiced by David Harbour, which is a nice little treat
Oh, cool.
to kind of hear him back in it. Uh, it's there's a lot of good. But there's also some bad. I don't like the Weasel character. I think he sucks. He was pulled in from the Suicide Squad, so it's another one that's like, don't love that. There's fun tension, but Rick Flag Sr. is doing a wonderful job at the helm, and I'm really excited to see Frank Grillo pull this off in live action for Superman and kind of where this leads into. So again, there's a lot of fun, but there's also a lot of I don't know if this is needed.
So, this being an animated show, another important question I think to ask: how is the animation? Is it Invincible level where it's a little more basic, or do we have some of that like super detailed like Clone Wars esque type stuff? I say Clone Wars, maybe more like Bad Batch.
So this is a perfect blend between um, X-Men 97 and Invincible.
Okay.
With Invincible's art style and panel-esque drawing and X-Men 97 colors. There's a lot of bright, vivid colors on screen, especially like Radiation Man. He's that bright lime green with the glow effects, and he's kind of shown throughout. But it's definitely still on the animation style where Rick Flag is very muted. It's very simplistic drawings, so it's definitely somewhere between X-Men 97 and Invincible.
Okay, cool. And I think that's really cool. I love that type of animation, so I'm excited for that. I think this show, like with what you've said, I think it's definitely something worth me giving it a watch. So I think you convinced me. I will watch this one, see how it is. But no, I think that's a great first review for this first couple of episodes. Is there anything else that you really liked about it or the direction they're going? Or do you think it's just going to be one of those things that when it's all said and done, you just enjoyed your time with it?
I think it's going to be one of those where it's like, I enjoyed my time with it. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. I
Okay.
think it's going to land solidly at a 7, maybe a 6. For my rating systems, it's kind of where I'm currently falling with it. But it definitely could go higher. It's got a lot of cool threads, some characters I'm intrigued to know more about. It made some good comments about America and their love for oil, which I always love to kind of bash our war efforts when we do just invade a country for oil. And then people are like, yeah, it's not because of the oil, it's because of the freedom. And it's like, yeah, it's definitely because of some of the oil. Like, so uh, I like some of that. Little jabs because we definitely are not perfect as a country. I do think we're doing it pretty good compared to a lot of other countries. Don't want to bash on the United States because I still do think we're doing pretty solid, but we definitely have some room for improvement. So, uh, but yeah, no, definitely something I could see going higher, but also probably could fall lower depending on how TVMA this gets.
Okay, awesome. So that's our kind of start for Creature Commandos. Zane's got me excited for it now with the things that he has said, so I'll definitely have to give it a watch. One thing I think let's if there's not anything else you had to say about that, I think we could hop into some of the live action shows that we watched this week.
Yeah, I think that's good. I definitely don't want to give too much of more of a review because I know this episode is going to be a little bit longer with the live action we have to cover. But yeah, I think that's a good part to kind of go forward with.
So I want to start off with I want to save Star Wars Skeleton Crew for last because I feel like that's going to be the stuff we have the most to talk about because we did have another 2 episode drop for that. So let's go ahead and start with Dune Prophecy. Now I did not watch this episode, but I do not care if you give any spoilers or anything like that. So do not hold back on anything that you have to say about it. How was episode 4 of Dune Prophecy? Did it do some things that you think is worth me really getting back excited about? Did the action pick up any, or is it still trying to really build that world and tell a story before we get into the meat of the show?
I think this was spectacular, potentially the best episode. It had a lot of Desmond Hart. I know a lot of people were complaining because Desmond Hart was absent from episode 3, which I didn't mind because of the character building. But yeah, no, Desmond Hart was pretty front and center on this one. We got to see a lot more about Valia and her issues with the Harkonnens and kind of some of the High Council setup and what all that looks like, the Emperor's power and what he's able to do, more with the rebellion. I love this episode. I had so much fun with it. And guess what? There was no nudity, which is it's a big plus. That's been my biggest complaint with this show. So this was good. This was a good episode for me.
That's awesome. I think it's also good that you can like finally get to the point where they didn't feel like they had to include that stuff in the show because it's one of those things shows usually do that. Obviously there's some that do it all the time. But I feel like shows usually do that at the very beginning of a series of something and then it usually starts to slow down towards, getting farther into the first season. Usually the second season has a lot less of it, I've noticed with these types of shows. Now I don't know if this show will get a second season, but I'm super excited that you're really enjoying it. I do plan on watching it. It's not one of those things I'm just like not going to watch anymore, but it's just something for me I wasn't able to get into after those first 3 episodes, even though I liked the first one. The second and third were just a little too boring for me. So maybe I'll get a little bit more excited about it with it getting a little bit more going, starting to feel out like the actual story is going a little bit further. That was one of my complaints is I love the Desmond Hart character and he seems like he's going to be very important, but it feels like we just weren't getting enough of him. So I'm super happy that that's getting taken care of and we're starting to get some more story development with him and stuff like that. Who knows? Maybe he's already dead, but I haven't watched the episode. So, but no, I think it's super cool that you're enjoying it. But I hope that is something that continues. I hope it can continue to build that story out and just continue to get better. And I hope I feel like I said before, I think it's going to have a very Rings of Power esque transformation for me. I do want to watch it. I do still plan on watching it, but it's just not something I was super excited for, which is why I skipped on it for this past week. So I will get to it, but hopefully it's one of those things that can really grab my attention. And when it starts to get rolling, it can really get me wrapped back into the world of Dune that I do really, really love.
Yeah, and one of the cool things with this episode is it really explored some of the powers that spice allows humans to have, or whatever these creatures are. I guess they're not humans because they're not from Earth, but these humanoids to have because, in the books it does so much more. That's the way that they navigate through the stars is with spice, essentially turning humans into complete thinking machines themselves because of copious amounts of spice ingested into them, and so they turn into these monstrous creatures that can do all the global or the galactic travel coordinates and all the calculations that are needed for that. And then we get a really cool completely spoiler scene, so I don't want to spoil it, but it's really really cool. And I am very sorry if my voice is shaking. I'm literally sitting here with a coat on shivering, so my apologies for that.
Oh no, you're good. I think people will gladly be able to understand. But I think that's one of the things we did hope that this show would do was it would build more on the world and like kind of answer some of those questions that we might have had from the movies. So I'm glad that they are exploring some of that stuff with the spice. We did get to see that at the end of episode 3 where we saw Tula trying to keep one of the ladies alive by putting her in that like you know atmospheric, chamber type thing, and she was getting filled it with spice to kind of keep her body, going, and hopefully be one of those things that could reawaken her. So I think it is cool that we're kind of starting to see like the benefits of spice that we don't, haven't been exposed to really from the movies. So I think those are some of the things the show is doing and could do really well, and maybe make those movies even just a little bit better, just knowing some more of the backstory and the things behind what's really happening.
Yeah, and I think this could really set the stage for Dune Messiah for some of those not to be such a shock if they show up. Now, they may or they may not. I'm personally of the hope that they don't. I hope they completely stay separate, and if they introduce it, they explain it in the movie. But if they don't, it is here. It is available to go find a little bit more information. I do think it's a pretty good show. But again, I understand it not grabbing everyone's attention. It is definitely story heavy. It is definitely one that I honestly didn't know that I was going to like so much, with all the manipulation and backstories, and kind of getting to see the ins and the outs of the Empire with the Sisterhood, and kind of getting a lot of that. I really have loved that this has stuck to the Sisterhood side of it, and has, Desmond Hart took a backseat because this is the Sisterhood story, and I'm okay with that because that's the story they chose to tell. Now, we get plenty of him, enough to enjoy. He gets his stardom. We really get to see his power. It's really cool. But I definitely like that they're sticking with the sisters because that's the story they wanted to write.
Well, that's super important when you are going to tell a very story-driven show. Is you do not need to be bouncing around a lot. You do need to pick something, stick to it, and just let it ride out. Let it perform. Let it get to where it needs to get. So that's also good to hear. Again, it is something that I will watch. I just, for some reason, I just can't get into it. And I hate when I'm like that with a show that people are really enjoying. And sometimes I just need to sit back down and power through it. But no, I'm super happy you're enjoying it. And I think a lot of people overall have been enjoying the show. I think I'm definitely in the minority when it comes to the people that have been a little bit bored with it. But no, I'm super happy that you're still enjoying it and you're looking forward to the next episode.
So, but I think that's pretty good for this one. I'm really interested to see your Star Wars skeleton crew uh, take, because I think we might have slightly different ones on this one.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. Star Wars Skeleton Crew had another 2 episode premiere. Now, the day that this podcast will be coming out, I believe this is a Tuesday drop show,
It is.
if I'm not mistaken. So there will be episode 3 dropping the day that this podcast is released. So we'll touch on that potentially the next week, or if something else comes up, maybe we'll wait a couple weeks to do like a more of like a 2 or 3 episode review. But first 2 episodes, I couldn't be happier. I thought this was such a fun story that Star Wars really needed. Very lighthearted, very fun. Obviously, there's some stuff that's like a little bit more serious, which I think they did a really good job of balancing when you have kids in it. Like, this definitely seemed like a show that you could sit down and watch with your kids. It's very fun. It does have some Stranger Things vibe, which is kind of what I was hoping for, but not nearly as scary, not nearly as intense. More so just like, I've heard a lot of people more comparing it to the Goonies, which I think is a really, really great comparison. I'm loving it. I think it's got so much potential because it's a different side of Star Wars that we've never seen, which I really like because Star Wars is so big and vast. We don't need to be contained. I'm one of the people, you've talked about it before as well. We don't need to continue to get the Skywalker stuff. Like, their story has been told. So let's see some of these other planets and these other things that we know are going on in this world, but we haven't had an opportunity to see. So this is perfect for that. We're seeing kids in school, we're seeing teachers, we're seeing like the way like normal people in the Star Wars galaxy work. That one character has a dad, Wim has a dad that literally goes to work and sounds like he works in an office, works a normal 9 to 5 job, and then comes home in the evening. So I think some of those things are really fun because it's not hard to imagine that that's in Star Wars. And it's really cool that we're finally getting to see it. They did a really good job with, I think the sets looked really good. I think they did a really good job with I think the characters did a very good job. I think the acting for the kids was really, really good. And we've often talked about how when you have kid actors, it can be really rough. But I think they did a really good job for, their first time really being in a big mainstream media. So I couldn't be more happy with these first 2 episodes. And I'm super excited to continue to watch this and kind of see where this story develops because I think it's going to be really fun. I think we're going to get to see some cool characters, introduced. And I loved it. I thought there was one character in particular that I was super pumped to see when I did see him. I thought he was so cool looking. So I'm super pumped about this one. This is going to be a show that I'm looking forward to watching tomorrow night. I'm definitely going to be watching it when it drops. I know we both hesitated to watch this one on its drop night last week because it was a 2 episode premiere. We like to go to bed at a reasonable time, but no, this is one I'll definitely will be looking forward to watching tomorrow night.
Yeah, no, I have a similar take. I thought they did a pretty good job. I think the child acting was not great. That's my personal opinion. I think that they did a good job at times, but also did not do great. I thought the story was more Treasure Planet than Goonies. And I kind of, especially with the pirate details and really getting what is clearly not a Jedi, in my opinion. I don't think there's a chance the person in the cell is a Jedi. I think they're trying to show us that it was the captain at the start. I don't know if that's a red herring. They may be trying to switch and bait us. I don't know. But I don't think he's a Jedi. And I think you touched on that last week that he's probably not good. And I think that's probably a good thing. I think they're going to definitely kind of learn some lessons. I love the mystery that they intrigued with Ad-Ada and not knowing where the planet is and what all is going on. I thought that was really, really fun. Uh, there's definitely some issues that I was like, man, like the kid trying to walk up the clear embankment that any child would be able to walk up. I thought that was a little silly. There were some moments where I was like, okay, like just make the wall thicker. Like just make it steeper. Uh, but that's completely nitpicking. I thought it was a fun show. I thought it was definitely, like you said, you can sit down and watch it with your kids, potentially a little older. There's some violence. So I would say probably around the age of 7 or above. I would say this is completely safe for, and then determining on what you show your kids could be lower. So a good start. I did like the runtime episodes. I thought they did a great job
Mhm.
managing their very short runtime, which we've complained about a lot. And I think this is exactly the solution: is use your time wisely. I don't know how many times we've said it is not the runtime; it is the management of the time you were given. 8 hours is not needed to tell a story. We have movies that do it beautifully in an hour and 30 minutes. And I think they did a really good job with their hour of TV, telling a good story that was well broken up, that was intriguing. I'm excited to see where it goes. There was some action, there was some adventure, there was some connection with my younger self. Kind of nerding out, putting myself in those shoes, which I haven't really got to do in a long time. So that was a little fun, but also kind of cringeworthy for a little bit of it. So I had a good time with it. I didn't dislike it, but my wife definitely checked out within the first 5 minutes of the first episode.
That's so funny because my wife really enjoyed this one along with me. I just thought it was a really fun story, and I think you touched on the pacing. They did such a good job, and I think what they did well with that is they're clearly telling a story through these kids' eyes. We're not bouncing around. We're not now potentially we're going to see a little bit more of the backstory of who is in the cell because I agree. I do think it's the captain. Maybe they're trying to trick us there, but I don't think they are. I think that is just going to be who it was originally. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of the story through his eyes, but I do think they're really going to keep this self-contained, and I really like that for this type of story because we don't need a backstory on all these other characters. So they're pirates, right? We know what they are, we know what they do, and I want to see how these kids develop throughout the story. I want to see the lessons that they learn, and I think it's super fun. Like it's super cool that we're getting like the pirate theme. Like I think that's a really fun aspect of Star Wars that's not touched on a lot. Like some of my favorite episodes of the Clone Wars are when we get to see Hondo and stuff like that. Some of the best episodes of the Mandalorian were when he was fighting off the pirate crew and things. So I think the pirate aspect is such a good idea, especially for this setting with these kids that we know they're going to learn some lessons from. Whether they're good or bad is going to be the fun part about it as well. But it's just super exciting. Like I love the set design, I love the characters, I love the idea like you touched on about really not knowing where Ad-Ada is. It seems like it's a planet that was literally everyone thinks is a myth, and they have like these mint condition old Republic credits and stuff like that's just really fun to kind of see a different side of Star Wars that's not all about the Sith and the Jedi. So this is going to be super super cool. I think I'm absolutely loving it. I do agree with some of your complaints, but for me, those are so nitpicky that like I looked past them. Like the embankment thing, I literally thought the same thing. Like it kind of gave flashbacks of Leia running away in the Obi-Wan
Yep.
show. Like obviously those criminals would be able to catch her, but they had to do something to set it up, and it could have been done a little bit better. But I think when those are your criticisms for a show, or there's like really nitpicky things, I think that does speak volumes to what they did well with the time that they were given, and they didn't leave any things that were like, oh, that was really really bad.
No, I would excuse me. No, I'd agree with that. And that's why I kind of said, like, hey, it's definitely nitpicking here. I enjoyed what we're given. I do think it is definitely on the lower maturity level, which is good. Like, we definitely
Mhm.
need some Star Wars for the younger generation. It doesn't all need to be for us. So I think it's really good to put this out and maybe get a new generation really enjoying some of this, like, the magic of Star Wars, which is the mystery, like wanting to be put into this kind of galaxy far, far away and kind of seeing yourself become a Jedi. I don't know what is in store for these kids, but I definitely think we're going to see some learning, like you said. Now, one of the things I like the most is that the pirates sucked and that they were really mean. They cheated. That like they didn't act like people who were concerned for these children. They just
No.
wanted the gold. And so, or the Republican credits. So I thought that was really good and a great choice that they really could have botched. I think there's a big chance that they really messed that up. But I don't think they did. I think they handled it very nicely where, pirates are still somewhat humanoids. They still have somewhat of uh their morals, but most of them are gone. So anything for a coin, as we kind of saw with the Ravengers in Guardians of the Galaxy. There's some heart there, but most of it's gone. So I think it was a really good job how they represented the swashbuckling pirates at the bay and kind of that connection point, and also loves a robot. Is it
Yeah.
Beef? Is Beef the robot? Is that the
I
name?
thought I don't know if that's what I know they called it was SM-33. I didn't know if they gave him a
SM-33.
code name or something like that though.
That could definitely be it. Yeah, SM-33. That's right. Nick Frost played him. I thought he was great. I thought that was
Yeah.
really cool. I thought it was clever. I thought the girl showed some pretty uh thinking on your feet for someone who's never been there, but we definitely know she was top of her class. Like she was the smartest kid in school. This is clearly a much superior school and organization than most of the ones we see in Star Wars. So I think that was really good to kind of make her be the one that tricked the captain, not the one who is doesn't care to study and misses his test and doesn't really care. I thought it was good for her to be kind of the brains of that operation and get them out of a tough predicament.
Yeah, I thought that was super fun. Um, I just think the idea behind the pirates actually being evil, like you touched on, was something that could have gone so wrong. But they did definitely deliver with that, which I was super happy about. But they did a really good job just with like what did you think about the character designs? I think that was one of the things that stood out to me the most. Is they really gave us a very diverse set of characters, some of which we've never seen. One of the ones I was talking about at the beginning was how cool was that like wolf like type character that came out and was just dual wielding those blasters and things like that. Like those are things that I really enjoy seeing in Star Wars is the different species and the different characters that we're gonna get. And I think they did a really great job of that with the pirates as well. We did see some of the pirates that looked like they were from Hondo's crew or the ones from Mando, but then we also had characters like that. We had the one guy that was serving them like the ramen-esque type food that looked really, really cool. What did you think about like the overall character design that we got?
So I liked almost all of it. What's hilarious is the one that you said I hated. I thought the werewolf guy looked awful. I thought it was terrible, but that was just me. I thought it was could have been significantly better done. We see what are they? Chewbacca's
Oh, the
race.
Wookiees.
We see Wookiees look so good, and I just don't think he had the same feel or look as a Wookiee did. I think he had a significantly cheaper look, much more mask-esque. So I really would have liked to seen him digitized more
Mhm.
because that's an area where, okay, if you're gonna put a snout, you're gonna put those eyes. Maybe animatronics is not the way to go in this situation. I love the practical effects for most of them, especially the kid. I think the kid's design looks great. I think they've done a really good job being consistent with that. But I definitely think that the wolf dude definitely looked awful. And that
I
I don't
I
know.
will say, I think the part that looked the worst about him is when he spoke, like the way his
Yeah,
mouth
no,
moved is definitely like
absolutely.
it caught your attention. But I think he looked really cool, which is super exciting. And that's actually from the like I think it's 2003 Clone Wars. Like if you remember the older Clone Wars show, that's actually a species that's in there. So it was really cool to see that kind of come to live action. So that was something that I was super excited about. I love the character design, thought they did cool. You touched on the robot. I think he was awesome. Like when he showed up to protect his captain, and we just see him kind of like wrecking through all these pirates and stuff like that. I thought that was really fun because he's like a seasoned guy. Like he's been to this port. He kind of knows how to talk to the pirates. He knows how to handle them. He knows when it's just time to start throwing punches. So I thought that was really cool. And that's kind of one of the mysteries I'm most excited about that I feel like we're gonna come across is we did see some of the skeletons in the back of the ship that could have potentially been people fighting for, being the new captain, because we do hear him talk about like, oh, you can challenge her to become the captain if you want, fight to the death. And they're like, no, we'll pass. But I do want to see if we get some more backstory on this ship that they're in. Like, is this going to be one of those ships that's like, oh, this is a legendary ship? Or is it really just like a pirate crusader that just some random pirate had? I think some of that stuff could be really fun to kind of figure out as we go throughout it. Was it stashed on this planet for a specific reason? Because we do hear that at no ships come and go. Like there's the barrier, no one's allowed in, no one's allowed out. So I'm kind of interested to see a little bit more of like how that got there and stuff. So I hope that's some of the stuff that's touched on. But maybe this will just be one of those stories where it's just a cool ship that these kids found, and that's about the end of it. But overall, I thought it was a really great 2-episode premiere. Now, I did know a lot of people were talking about how this is the second highest rated Star Wars show that we have ever gotten. I don't know that it's quite there. I do think it's in that upper echelon. I do think it's better than Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it's better than Boba Fett. I do think it's better than The Acolyte. And I think that's a lot for this type of show being so kid-oriented, so kid-friendly, that they were still able to tell a story that, us adults can still get behind. Where do you rank this with the other Star Wars show? I think we both agree it's not Mando, Ahsoka, and/or good, but do you think it's right there in that middle of the pack?
I don't know. I definitely have to see the full product because there's definitely like I think Moon Knight by the first episode, I was saying this was going to be the greatest Marvel show that came out. After the first episode, I was like, okay, they're going to flip and they're going to show the other side of what happened, and this is just going to be the most fun, thrilling, stylized show ever. And then second episode came out, they didn't do it, and third episode didn't do it, and I was like, okay, like they really missed the mark. So I think this has potential to be below probably below Ahsoka.
Okay.
I think potential. There's a big gap. I would say there's a big gap in live action between Ahsoka and what would the next one be? Probably Boba Fett, maybe. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. So I don't have my list pulled up. So I think it's definitely better than Boba Fett currently, but I also could see that quite dwindled pretty low. So it's just up to that. I don't know. They'll have to stick the landing, as all of these things always must do.
Yeah, so I think for a starter, though, I think they did a really good job getting people excited for something. I think there is a lot of story to be told here on a very level that's not. It's one of those shows that, like, some people hate this, some people don't. It's one of those shows that I can just sit down and enjoy watching, and I don't have to be paying attention to, like, every single little detail. Like, I feel like I was like that with Ahsoka. Like, I was trying to spot stuff in the background because I was like, what is Thrawn? All these things like that. I feel like this show, where it is new, it's its own story. I think it's really nice to just be able to sit there and watch it and enjoy it for what it is.
No, I would agree with that. It definitely was something that did not have my full attention. And I think that's a knock on the show. I do like those shows, but personally, for a first time watch, I want my phone to never be reached for. Now, most of the time I can reach for it and be like, no, I'm watching this, I'll put it down. But even the fact that I want to reach for my phone to be distracted by something else is a negative on the show, which most shows I watch do not have that ability on me. Most of them I'm completely locked in.
Oh, see, I was completely locked into this one. I didn't touch my phone for that entire hour. I watched both of them back to back. I thought it was super fun. So it's it's going to be fun to see how this one develops because I know you enjoy it, but I'm really enjoying it. Like, this is kind of something I've been wanting from Star Wars for a while now. It's really kind of, you touched on this part. It is bringing back that, like, kid feel to it. Like, I am putting myself in these kids' shoes and, like, what would I do here? Like, I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. Like, would I have gone back to this ship or what I thought was a Jedi temple, or what would I have done? So I think they're doing a really good job with that aspect of it, and that's what I think is keeping that mature audience involved in it. Is it's kind of like, oh, this is fun. This is something that I could have seen myself loving as a kid. And I'm really excited for that aspect of it. So it's going to be fun to see how this one goes about because I think it has potential. I think we both agree with that. But I think it's definitely going to land differently on our top shows for Star Wars live action when it's all said and done.
Yeah, no, I don't know, dude. I think it would have to do quite a bit of good to get above Ahsoka for you. You loved
Oh,
Ahsoka.
well, and that's what I was saying. I think it's right below Ahsoka. I don't. That's where I was saying it's right in that middle of the pack. Like I put it right below Ahsoka, Mando. Well, not right below. You get what I'm saying. Like below
Yeah, yeah,
Ahsoka.
yeah. In
Yeah,
between.
that's where I kind of have it at right now.
Wait, do
And
you
I
have
think that's like
Ahsoka
a
above Mandalorian?
when we did our list, I actually had Mando as number one for our favorite live action shows because it's so much nostalgia for me. And then I had Andor 2, Ahsoka 3.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's
So
kind of,
right
and
in
I
that
still
4
feel that
spot.
way. Yeah. So right at 4, and I think that's perfect for the show. Like it is really fun for me. I don't see it getting above Ahsoka. It would have to do some really, really cool stuff and really get me engaged and really locked in. But I think it's like this is the Star Wars show that we needed after coming in. I didn't hate the Acolyte as much as most people did, but I think this is like a perfect Star Wars show to kind of start to gain back some of that trust of the people that felt betrayed from Acolyte.
Yeah, and definitely I hope this succeeds because of what you touched on earlier with it's not in the Skywalker saga as
Mm-hmm.
of yet. So I think it's really cool that we're getting a completely brand new show that is not that is not Acolyte that has potential to be pretty good. And that's where I'm getting it. It's pretty good. Like it's watchable. I'm not going to turn it off. It's enjoyable. I'm intrigued, but at the end of the day, it's not quite hitting for me like I thought it had the potential to.
I will say, for me personally, it's lived up to its potential. Like I was really excited for this one. I'm still really excited about it. Now, one thing I wanted
Which
to
is
touch on.
great.
Yes, well, I'm super excited about that. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on real quick: how cool was that like comic book tablet that he had? Like,
Oh,
imagine
that was
having one of
sick.
those as a kid.
Oh yeah, that was super cool. He had like a Jedi Wikipedia projector with storybook, which I thought was really cool. It's clearly something for younger children that their parents would read them as stories,
Yeah,
and that he really hung on to after his mom passed away, which allowed him to not develop probably the way he should have and grow this in-depth attachment to this and why he is so fond of being a Jedi, which I
yeah.
think is so deep for one of these shows to put. And it wasn't at the forefront. Like that's something that you have to kind of pull out. Like they do it really well. They show it. They don't tell you like, hey, this kid is obsessed with this because his mom died.
Yeah.
I think they did a good job with that.
Well, I did think it was really fun too. Like if you were a kid in this universe, yeah, you'd want to be a Jedi. Like that's like the coolest thing ever. So I thought that was really cool that like him and his friend. I love that first scene where he walks out of his house and he sees his friend and he has his back turned to him and they both like ignite their fake lightsabers. I was like, that was literally me. Like I love that stuff. So I think there's going to be a lot more of that throughout the show that we're going to be able to like really smile and get happy about. Which that's the type of television we talk about all the time. That's what we need more of in today's society. It's just good, clean entertainment like that really just it's fun. And so I'm super excited for what's to come with this show. I know you're still excited for it about it, even with the little things you had to say. I think overall this was a good start for a new Star Wars show.
No, I would completely agree.
So that's kind of our Star Wars skeleton crew talk, and that's kind of everything that we had for this episode. If you didn't have anything else you wanted to talk about, Zane, I don't want to keep you too long because I know you're probably ready to hop in bed.
Oh yeah, no, I'm good. This is fun, and I never want to miss an episode. But yeah, I'm pretty toast.
So, guys, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Weekly Fix. Like Zane mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we will be talking about Comic Corner this coming Friday. You guys will be able to see that upload. Super excited about that. The cat's out of the bag. We did do Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin, so super excited for you guys to hear Zane's take on his first Ninja Turtle comic. So that's going to be super fun for you guys to check out. But if you guys did enjoy this week's episode of Weekly Fix, make sure to give us a rating on whatever platform you're on. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button as well so you don't miss another episode. If you really enjoyed it, make sure to tell your friends about it so they can also get on board and enjoy our crazy hot takes sometimes, because I know sometimes we be saying some stuff out there that I know a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with. So that is going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I can't wait to see you in the next one.